So we talk a whole lot about technology, and it seems like, gosh, there's some new technology or new advance almost every day. I saw in the news they had a roundtable talking about AI and how they might need a referee, right? Because it's just really evolving so fast and so quickly, and there's some concerns that it might kind of get away from the folks implementing this technology. So, but technology can be a useful tool for you and I as a practitioner. It can be useful for users of appraisal services. And so I want to have a conversation about it. So come back and listen in. Hi, this is Brian Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you as always by the great folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education? Check us out at our website, appraiserelearning.com, and see what we have to offer. Lots of virtual classes, a lot of online opportunities. We even have some non-CE training to get you more adept and using tools in your practice. So I'd like to bring on my guest, Mr. Luke. I'm not even going to try it, Luke. I tried. I was almost there. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Luke. He's got one of those names. Luke?
Appreciate it, Brian. Luke Tomaszewski. It's an easy one to pronounce. I don't know where the problem is.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So
Exactly.
Luke, welcome to the program. Tell my listeners a little bit about Mr. Luke.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate you having me. So I'm an appraiser myself. Have been for about the last 18 years now. I'm still a practicing appraiser. So really just jumped into the industry randomly. It's a unique story. Nothing like, most appraisers, where a majority of the appraisers, friends that I have in the industry, it's typically a family member that brings you in. With me, it was just, I was in high school. Parents were refining their house, and guy was walking through the property. I had a brief chat with him. I was doing construction in the summers, and that's how I jumped into the industry, and that was really the start of it, of the fun
No
that
way.
we're having today.
So your parents were refinancing their home. The appraiser comes in doing their thing, and you observed that and thought, oh, that looks like a cool job.
It looked interesting. I mean, I did construction. I had a bit of an interest in real estate, and just asked the guy, what he's doing, taking measurements, photos, and just seemed interesting, and that was it.
Well, how cool is that? Yeah, that's a great story. I was kind of like that. I wasn't born into appraising. I was in the mortgage banking space and kind of fell in. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, we're glad you're here, Luke. And so you say that you still appraise property too, right? You're an
Yes.
active appraiser. Okay, great. We love hearing
Yeah.
that. So tell us a little bit about your company and what it is you do and what services you offer.
Yeah, so ProxyPics started about 6 to 7 years ago now. The idea came into my head, way before that. So if you go back to the, 2008 days when we had, the housing crisis, we did a lot of default REO appraisal. So it was a lot of driving just to get comp photos, subject photos, in some rougher areas in the city of Chicago, which is where I live. So I just had the idea. That's when Lyft, Uber were getting popular. The crowdsourcing idea was getting more accepted. And I just thought to myself, I'd love to pay somebody a few bucks just to get a photo for me. The idea came and went. A few years later, it popped back into my head. And the end concept of, providing an inspection or photos of a property was nothing new. But the problem that we had back then, the average turn time was 5 to 10 business days for a simple exterior photo. And I just thought, with all of the advancements in smartphone technology, crowdsourcing being a relatively new concept, why not, harness, the new tech and make it more available for a reasonable fee and deliver those photos in 24 hours or less. So that was the core concept: just deliver exterior photos nationally, quickly, for a reasonable fee. That was the simple concept that we were trying to really solve for that pain point.
Yeah. So you guys, and you provide that all over the country. Is that what I'm hearing?
We do, yes, yeah. So it's national service. We even venture into, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Alaska, funny enough, and even those rural markets in the Dakotas, Nebraska. We have coverage all over, which
Man,
took a lot of time and effort, but we're there.
Are you looking for a photographer in Puerto Rico? I might know somebody. Me. That sounds like a pretty good gig to me.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about that a minute. Let's say I'm an appraiser and I'm doing an appraisal, and for whatever reason, I may have driven by this property. I knew that it sold, but I never had never had a reason to use it, and now I do. And I'm like, oh my God, that's in Hancock County. It's 45-minute drive. I've been by that house. I saw it. I just didn't snap a picture. I've got to drive all the way out there and get a photo. Are you saying that you provide a service that I could call you or get on your website or however I subscribe to that and secure a photo from you folks in lieu of me driving back out there?
Exactly. So you just create an account on our website, log in there, provide the subject address, and you just put in what you need a photo of. It's a front photo, a front right. You give us the details. And the way that the application works is anybody that has the app on their phone that's within a close proximity to the subject property, they receive a notification. It tells them where the property is, what photos are required, what we're paying them. And if they choose to accept it, a 4-hour timer turns on. A lot of security in the background with geofencing, the recording of the long and lat for every photo that they take. Once they take that photo, the job's completed, you receive it, and it just saves you a lot of time. I mean, my opinion is, as an appraiser, if you're able to use a service like this, we should really be concentrating on, the analysis, the value, not, driving around and, taking photos. If we have the ability to, just focus on, where our expertise is as appraisers.
Right. Yeah, and I'd like to remind my listeners and viewers that, in accordance to USPAP, which is your minimum requirement, there's no requirement to drive by anything, even the subject property for that matter. There's no requirement to photograph. But let's say you're doing a private job where you'd like to include a photograph in your report. This would be a great option for that. Now, the GSEs, many of them require that appraisers drive by the property. But let's face it, I've driven by properties before, and there's people, I remember last summer, there was a lady and sitting in the front yard, and they had a blow-up pool in the driveway, and they must have had 14 kids playing in it. There's no way I could get a picture of that, right? I drove around the block twice, hoping she took them in for a nap or Kool-Aid or something, and no, they were still there. So I could not get that photo. Let me ask you this: what about? I can't tell you how many drive-bys I've done, or comp photo, either way, where maybe it was dangerous for me to get that picture, right? I know on Highway 231 is a very well-traveled road, and for me to pull over or stop in the highway to get a picture is dangerous.
Sure.
So I've driven by it. I see it right there, but trying to create an environment where I can get that photograph is very unsafe. I'm sure you guys could solve that need for me, but what about this? What if I go by and there's trees? From the street, all I see is trees. Do you guys have a way to get that exterior photo better than me, or am I going to get trees if I hire you to take that picture?
Typically, if you're just ordering an exterior, we're not going to do anything differently than you would. We instruct our data collectors, stay on public property, unless it's the type of job, where we do have access to, get on the driveway or get onto, access private property. But no, I mean, more often than not, think of us as just an extension of, what you could potentially do yourself.
Gotcha.
But no, if there's trees covering and there's a long driveway, gated property, anything like that, we'll get you, a similar photo to what you'd probably take.
Still going to be an issue for you as well. Talk about
Exactly.
there's instances now where you have interior photos too, right? So elaborate a little bit on types of properties or how many properties, or just talk to me in detail a little bit about where I could get more additional data from you on maybe either comps or if it's a subject property that I'm doing a drive-by on.
Yeah, great question. So yeah, if you wanted an interior, we could also do that. You have to provide access information if it's, a contact number to a POC, if it's a vacant property, a lockbox, and then you have to give us details on what information you want us to collect. It could be as simple as still photos, video. We have 360 photos now, which is a really cool new concept that we've built. We have the ability to collect data on that property. So it could be, specific data points, something as simple as, room counts to any visible damages, all the way down to, a two-dimensional sketch if you wanted that. So very customizable platform. That's what a lot of our clients love, including appraisers. Depending on the need, we could really customize that request for your liking or need.
Yeah. So who's primarily your clients? I mean, is it appraisers or non-appraisers? What's your client base?
It's a whole mix. On the real estate side, it'll be a mix of appraisers, mortgage companies. We work with the GSEs. It'll be credit unions for the home equity side, where they need a property condition report to make sure that that property is still standing. So it's really a wide mixture. We even have realtors leveraging the service for a lot of different uses.
Yeah. So if I call you and want a picture, it's basically I'm engaging you or one of your staff members to take that picture. Do you have the ability, if let's say it was another property that let's say you've taken pictures and maybe you did interior photos for whatever reason, a listing or something. Do you have the ability to provide that? I mean, for a fee, can I subscribe and get those pictures too? Or is it just photographs that I engage you to take?
So it's funny. It's a great question because it comes up quite often. We have rights to the photos. As of today, we have not resold any, prior photos that have been taken. We're still building up that database. But yeah, if there's a photo that, we might have, we do have clients that, on a individual basis ask us that, we can't access the property. Do you have anything on this property? We could, share it for a fee, like you said, but it's not something that's built into our system as of today, where you could actually search, see if we've completed a prior job. Really, the concept that we were trying to solve is, let's use as of the effective date, these are the photos of the house. We're really still not engaged in the, selling of past photos. We want to provide you with photos that depict what the subject property looks like as of today. That's really the concept that we tried solving. Once we, build up that database, yes, that'll be a new business line for us, but not as of today.
Yeah, that would be interesting because so one of the things that we provide service for is for insurance companies, right? So I just did a house a little while ago that had fire damage. We did 2 apartment complexes that had fire damage. We had a tornado come through, about a year ago, and a lot of the homes they're completely gone. A lot of these insurance claims, I can get in the property and kind of see the layout that the house had before the damage. I might not know what the condition was because I wasn't in there the day before the fire, but a lot of times I can get in and walk the floor plan and say, oh, okay, well, you got to go through a bedroom to get to a bathroom. I can still see that, right?
Sure.
But if the house is completely gone, I got nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be really great if I could reach out to you guys and say, hey, I got a request to appraise a property with an effective date of a year ago. The house doesn't exist anymore. I've never been in that. Do you have, is that in your database? And man,
Sure.
What a valuable service that would be. So it's refreshing to hear that you're looking at maybe offering that in the future. Luke, don't go anywhere. I've got some questions for you. GSEs do require that we drive by at least the current forms we use, and I want to pick your brain on that. If there's a way to solve that problem. And maybe what's on the horizon with that. So don't go anywhere. I want to further this conversation just a little bit along that vein, okay? I do want to give a shout out to LIA, Administrators in Insurance. They are a sponsor of the Appraisal Update podcast, and I certainly appreciate their continued support. They've been doing this for about 45 years, so it's been a minute. LIA and Administrators in Insurance Services have been offering E&O insurance to valuation professionals just like you and I. LIA provides superior customer service, exceptional liability education, and unparalleled claim defense. They serve over 10,000 real estate professionals all across the country. They offer a host of protection, including commercial bonds, general liability, and cyber liability. Listen, guys, if you don't have a general liability policy, you need to rethink that. Get in touch with LIA and check out what they can do for you and your business. Visit liability.com to learn all about it, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you, LIA, for your continued support of the Appraisal Update podcast. All right, Luke, tough question. All right. Tough questions are allowed. Sorry. So I'm an appraiser, and I'm like, dude. My buddy Bobby Chris says dude all the time. He's got me saying dude. I said, just in California, they say dude, right? So I'd love to use your service. I'd love to, I do some work in Tennessee. I don't drive back down there. I do work in large geographic areas. And I thought in advance found some properties we're going to look at a property in Fordsville this afternoon. So we think maybe we don't have a clue. We get out there and it's completely different than what we anticipated. I got no comps yet, right? So I do my property observation, come back to the office. 2 days later, I'm figuring it out. Okay, here's a property, here's a property, here's a property. I want to use those as comps. Got them. I do not want to drive 40 miles away to get those dang pictures. Sure. I could use your service. The problem that I have on those pre-printed forms says that I've inspected the comp, right?
Yes.
So as of today, I would still have to drive back by those, even if I use your photo.
Correct.
How do we solve that problem, or is there a solution to that problem either now or in the near future? What's your thoughts?
So Brian, definitely agree with you on that. As of today, the forms definitely say you have to drive the comps. So if you're in a situation like that, I feel the pain. You could still order photos with us, but you'd still have to, drive that property. So it really wouldn't make too much sense. But I do think, in the near future, I think with where the industry's headed, I think things will change. So as we know, based on the assignment type, if it's not a typical 1004 or a 1073, based on what those client requirements are, you may be able to use a service like ours, depending on what that client's requesting. But I really feel, as appraisers, our expertise lies in the valuation of properties. That's, what we should be putting time into, effort. That's our expertise. So I do think as, the new forms get developed, I do think we will see the market really trending in that direction where the bifurcation topic's been happening quite a bit. I, as an appraiser, still love doing the inspection. That's really what attracted me to the industry, where you're in the office for half the day and you're in the field the other half, other than, wintertime in Chicago. It's a bit brutal. But I think that's where we're headed. I think, the world will bifurcate. We'll let the appraiser, do what they're a specialist at, and let a data collection company like ours, get those photos for you, get that physical information for you, and let you concentrate on, where you're the expert. So that's where I really think the industry will be headed in the next, 2 to 5 years, let's call it.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, if it's not a report you're working on for a GSE, then you have more flexibility, because again, there's nothing in USPEP says I got to drive by that comp, right? So I could certainly use your service on those assignments. Let's face it, I've went out and tried to get my comp photos, and oh my God, it's dark. I'm taking pictures where you can't even see the house. I'm like, oh my God, now I'm gonna have to come back again. No, if I'm out there and it's dusk and I don't get, or the sun's shining right on me and I can't get an angle, that might be a good solution to call you and use a better photograph. But I guess I could drive out there at dark and say, well, technically I drove by, shine my headlights on it. But then I called Luke and used one of his pictures. Seriously, that's something to think about. So let me ask you this. One of the concerns that appraisers have, and I think it's a valid concern. I've had these concerns with property data collectors is, well, who is it? Who's doing the work? Do I know? Now, granted, taking a picture is a little easier than getting data. But I've also seen many incidences where the appraiser gets creative, and it's like, all right, well, here's my comp. But if you took the picture from this angle, you see a big water tower sitting right behind the
Yes.
house, right? So, so no, don't, let's not fabricate. And you didn't really fabricate, but you kind of misled, right? I took a
Sure.
picture at an angle that didn't show that external issue. Maybe it's an externality that's a negative influence. Maybe it isn't.
Sure.
But I want a picture if there's a water tower sitting right behind the car. I want to I want to see that. In other words, Luke, what I'm trying to say is I want to see what is there as if I drove out and
Yeah.
took that photograph. So the folks that you have working for you providing this service, how do we ensure that they're not taking at an angle and we're missing, a landfill or something sitting behind the house?
Yeah, Brian, it's a great question. So we really provide a lot of detailed instructions to the data collectors. Let's just use the example of you ordering a simple exterior photo. Again, you have full control over what you're ordering. More often than not, I do recommend order at a minimum 2 photos, and you get that front, left, and right angle just to make sure you're not missing anything. If you really want to feel like you're on site, we did develop, a really cool 360 technology, very similar to what Google Street View feels like. The cool thing is you can actually do it on your phone. So if you have an Android or iOS phone, you're really just rotating in a circle, taking 8 photos in a row. We stitch those together, and you feel like you're on site. So that's another option. Typically, for an appraisal case use like we're talking about, a still photo is more than enough. But we also provide details and sample photos to those data collectors. So if we say take a front right photo, we give them a sample of what that looks like. Me and you, we know what a street scene photo looks like. If it's a general public person, if we tell them take a street scene photo, they have no idea what that means. So we provide them with sample photos just to make that as easy as possible. And again, if you want somebody more experienced, we have credentialed users. So we have the general public that takes photos for ProxyPics. But if it's something a bit more complex, if you're going inside of the property, collecting specific data points, some of our clients require specific types of training, background checks. So you could really decide who you want going into that property or taking those photos for you.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, so let's say one of my listeners or viewers are interested in giving you a test run, Luke. Is it a subscription service? Is it a one-off? Do I have to be locked in for a year, or could I call you up and say, "Hey, I want to try one," or
Yeah.
I've got 3 comps. I need pictures of all 3 of those comps, and I just want to try it on this one case and see how it works. How does that relationship work with us?
Sweet and simple. There is no subscription. You place an order for whatever you need. When we complete that, we charge you for it. If you like the service, keep using it. If you hate it, you could stop at any time. So we keep it really simple. If we're performing, you'll keep using us. If we're not, you shouldn't be using us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's the turnaround time? Everybody wants to know turnaround time for
Sure.
appraisals. So what's the let's say this one in Fordsville. Oh, I went by that property, but I didn't take a picture of it, and I don't want to go back. So
Sure.
I'm finishing up this report. I need 2 pictures in Fordsville, Kentucky. I call you or order that on your website. What's a realistic time frame for me to get those 2 pictures of those 2 comps back?
Yeah, that's always the hot question. So nationally, we're still averaging, sub 24 hours. As you get into those, rural markets, the timeline may extend. But if you're in a typically, urban suburban market, we're significantly below that 24-hour mark. I mean, we've had instances where we're under an hour because, again, the way that our technology works and the way that the patent really, works is it's the request of multimedia images based on a person's geolocation. So, we've had instances where you might be out with your friends having lunch and somebody requests a photo across the street. You'll get that notification, you'll see it. It could take you a few minutes to get that photo, and it's really simple. You just accept the job, take the photo on your phone, hit complete, you're done. That's it.
So so am I hearing that there could be opportunities for appraisers to provide this service for you?
Of
Not
course.
just be a user. Maybe they're providing you support.
Yep, that happens today. We encourage it. So you could, as an appraiser, as a real estate agent, whoever it might be, but we recommend, download the application, sign up. The nice thing is, if you hold a state credential like an appraisal license, you qualify for additional jobs that the general public simply will not. So we have, certain clients that say we only want data collectors that have a state credential.
Wow.
And
Wow.
as you'd imagine, that population really, diminishes with how many people are available, and the fees do increase on those jobs also. So, yeah, I
Fantastic.
encourage it. I mean, who
Fantastic.
better than an appraiser to do, data collection for us, in my opinion.
Yeah. 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 So appraisers, listen up, right? I've heard from a lot of appraisers throughout the country. Hey, I'm really slow. The interest rates doubled within a short period of time. I don't know what I'm going to do. I need more work. Here's an opportunity, right? So here's an opportunity that we're, Luke's giving you, not me. I'm just kind of getting the word out. So if there's an appraiser that needs some work, you're telling me they can contact you and say, hey, I'll take pictures for a fee, right? And
Yeah.
and those opportunities are available today.
Yep, just go to the website, sign up, put in your credentials, and then yeah, as you want to qualify for additional jobs, there's things like a background check, specific training requirements. The more of that you do, the more jobs you qualify for. And just as a rewarding system, the data collectors that perform very well, they have a high quality score. They return things, within the appropriate time frame. Assignments don't cancel out on them. We actually check them off as a preferred data collector for us. If you actually get that box checked within your profile, you'll see jobs within your area. I think it's 5 minutes before the general population, and that really opens you up to accept those jobs before anybody else, and really complete a lot more every month with us.
Yeah. And so, Luke, talk about the client base one more time. I mean, I know that you have a wide client base. So I want the appraisers to understand, or trainees. Maybe this is a great opportunity for a trainee even. That you wouldn't just be taking photographs for other appraisers, right? Maybe an insurance company or
No.
something. So talk about a little bit your other client base, and
Sure.
what kind. If I start taking photographs for you, what types of assignments would I be doing?
All over the board. So, when we started the company, the simple concept was getting exterior photos of residential properties. But today, you'll get a full gamut of photo requests. It'll be residential properties, commercial properties. I mean, you could end up at a Walmart parking lot getting photos of the asphalt or the landscaping. As I mentioned, we're getting into the insurance sector. That's a relatively new one. So that'll be, again, exterior photos of both commercial and residential. And there's a lot of specifics that you have to follow. We have some clients that want photos at in the evening hours when the sun sets, and the reason for that is they're looking for the illumination on signage, for actual display signs. So it's very interesting. I mean, you could go from a residential property, and the next job that you take could be a banking location for a Chase or a PNC. So it's all over the board, so we keep it very interesting.
Luke, that is very interesting. Thank you so much for being here. Let me just say this, Luke. Go ahead and sign me up to take pictures for you on luxurious resorts, okay? And I'm sure you need interior of a couple of different room styles. So
Of
go ahead and
course.
check me into those rooms, and the pool and all the activities, right, that they have. In fact, I'll make a week-long inspection of it if you want. So just all the luxurious hotels around the country. Sign me up. I want to be that guy. So
Deal.
Luke, thanks for being here and sharing a little bit about you and your company. If somebody wants to reach out to you, and I see you at conferences all the time,
Yes.
what's your next conference?
Next one that we have is a commercial conference in my backyard in Chicago. So it's going to be nice and easy, and I believe October. And then the travel slows down until next year. So looking
Gotcha.
forward to that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I've been on a 10-week straight travel crazy, and so
Yes.
so I got another leave tomorrow, in fact, for another conference, and then things slow down. Just 2 in October, and then I think I hope to be in the woods a little bit. But yeah, you're in Chicago. I lived in Chicago for a while. It's Sweet Home Chicago. That's one of my favorite places in the world. Big Chicago Bears fan. So
Perfect.
But they need to shape up quick.
Yes, they do.
But so thanks for being here. If somebody wants to reach out to you, Luke, how is the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Yeah, just send an email to hello@proxypics.com. And depending on the need, we could definitely take care of you. So we look forward to the conversation. And Brian, I appreciate the time today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Luke. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Appraisal Update podcast, brought to you as always by the fine folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education, check us out at appraiserelearning.com. If you would like to be a guest on the program, reach out to any of the team members over at AEL, or if you know someone you think that would be an interesting guest, please reach out to us. Jim Morrison over at Appraisal Buzz can line that up as well. We would love to have you on the program or someone that you would recommend on the program. Until next time, make some money. Hey, here's a new source for making money. Reach out to my friend Luke and see if he can put you on the payroll. Might be a good job that you can make a little money and have some fun at the same time. But until next time, please take care of yourself, make some money, hit the trees, shake the trees, see what falls out. Until next time, I'm your host, Brian Reynolds. Happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.